So in this video, we are going to learn how to create GetResponse contact from Webhook response. Now suppose guys you are using GetResponse as an email marketing application and you are having a trigger application which is not natively integrated inside Pabbly Connect, but your trigger application supports Webhook. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can connect that third-party trigger application which is not integrated inside Pabbly Connect using the Webhook URL. So we will be using Webhook by Pabbly and we are going to add a Webhook URL in the trigger application. And then from that, whenever we are going to receive a response on Webhook from that trigger application, automatically using this automation, you can create the contact in GetResponse. Like you are getting the new contact details from your trigger application via the Webhook, and then automatically using Pabbly Connect automation, you can create contact in GetResponse. So if you want to know how you can set up this automation, for that you just have to come with me to my screen.
So as you can see, here we are on Pabbly Connect's dashboard. Now to reach this dashboard, you will get a free sign-up link of Pabbly Connect in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can create your free Pabbly Connect account in just 2 minutes. And after reaching to this dashboard, just click on Create Workflow and give this workflow a name. For example, I would like to name my workflow as Webhooks to GetResponse. And then just click on Create. Now you can see that our workflow is open over here. And in this workflow, we have 2 different windows. First is the trigger window and second one is the action window. So triggers and actions are basically those 2 concepts, those 2 principles on which this whole automation works on, where the trigger says when this happens and the action says do this. So let's begin with the trigger window. Now the idea here is, first, we want to connect our application which is not natively integrated inside Pabbly Connect using the Webhook URL. So if you have any application or platform where you want to get the data and create a contact in GetResponse and that application of yours supports Webhook, then you just have to select the trigger as Webhook over here. And after selecting Webhook by Pabbly, Pabbly Connect will give you a Webhook URL in this trigger window. Now you can actually copy this Webhook URL from here and add it to the trigger application from where you are getting some data, where you want to get the data and create a contact in GetResponse. After adding this Webhook URL into your application, just create a test response and capture that response inside Pabbly Connect. And after that, after getting the details of a new user or a new Webhook response in our Pabbly Connect trigger window, here in our workflow, we will send that same data to GetResponse so that using those details, we can create a contact over there. So it's a very simple process. In this video, I'm just going to take an example of Pabbly Form Builder. Suppose Pabbly Form Builder is not integrated with Pabbly Connect and it is a platform, it is an application which supports Webhook. So we will be adding this Webhook URL in this particular application, Pabbly Form Builder, and then we are going to capture the response. We will get the data from that application of ours in our Pabbly Connect trigger window. So we will just copy this Webhook URL from here and go to Pabbly Form Builder, our trigger application from where we are going to get the data. So this is just a simple form which I have created in Pabbly Form Builder. And now we have to add the Webhook URL in it. So every application has a different method to add the Webhook URL. You just have to refer to the application, like how does a Webhook URL is added in your trigger application. In Pabbly Form Builder, you just have to go to the integration section and then click on this add Webhook button. Paste the Webhook URL over here and click on save. So in this way, we have just added this Webhook URL into our trigger application from which we want to get the data. So as I told you, we are just taking an example of Pabbly Form Builder. Instead of this, you can add this Webhook URL in any application of your choice which supports Webhook, which sends data via Webhook. And if that application is not integrated with Pabbly Connect as well, if that application does not have triggers in Pabbly Connect, in that case too, using this Webhook URL, you can get the data from trigger application in our Pabbly Connect workflow. So we have successfully added this Webhook URL. Now here in Pabbly Connect, it is showing us waiting for Webhook response. This means Pabbly Connect is waiting to get some data, some test response, some trigger response from our trigger application. So this is a form builder and we are going to make a test form submission in this Pabbly Form Builder. So I'm just going to enter the name of a user, for example, demo user. This is the name, this is the email address, and this is a dummy mobile number. Let's add the company as, for example, Pabbly, and the city is Bhopal, for example, and then just click on submit over here. So when we click on submit, a test event is performed in our trigger application. We made a form submission. And then because we have connected our trigger application with Pabbly Connect using the webhook URL, here you will see that after performing that particular event for which we want to set up this automation, here in our trigger response, we will receive some details. We will see the response for the same event. And here you can see the response of the same form submission. This is the same name, same email, mobile number, company, and city. So details of this form submission from our Pabbly form builder from our trigger application is received inside Pabbly Connect. In this way, you can add this webhook URL in any application of your choice and capture the trigger response in our Pabbly Connect workflow. So the step 1 of setting up this automation is completed. We have successfully added this webhook URL in our trigger application. Now let's move to step 2. And in step 2, the details, the response which we are getting from our trigger application via webhook, we want to send these same details to GetResponse so that the details of the user which we are getting in this trigger response, using these details, we can create a contact in GetResponse. For that, just scroll down, come to our action window, and here in Choose Apps, search for GetResponse. Just select it. After selecting GetResponse in the action application, in action event from this drop-down, select Create Contact. Click on Connect and select Add New Connection. Now here guys, we have to connect our GetResponse account with Pabbly Connect in this section. And here we have to enter the API key of our GetResponse account to make the connection. Now you must be thinking how you can get this API key. So here in my browser, I have already logged into my GetResponse account. And here in the help text of this connection window below API key, you can just read the help text which says enter your API key. You can find your API key from here. So here it is a hyperlink. Just click on it and it will take you to the page of your GetResponse account from where you can get the API key. So this is the section from which we can get the API key, and this is the API key. If you want to create a new one, click on this generate API key button, give this API key a name. For example, I'll name it as Pabbly and click on generate. And here you can see that just now a new API key has been generated in my GetResponse account. Just copy this API key from here, go to Pabbly Connect and paste it over here in the connection window. And then just click on save. And when we click on save, we will see our GetResponse account will get connected with Pabbly Connect. After making this connection, the first thing it asks us is the campaign. That in our GetResponse account, in which particular campaign we want to create the contact. And in this dropdown, you will see a list of all the campaigns from our GetResponse account. Right now, in my GetResponse account, I have only one campaign named as ADM. So I'm selecting that campaign over here. After selecting the campaign, here it is asking us some details of the new contact which we want to create. Like what is the name of the contact, what is the email address, IP address, days of cycle, tag, birthday, city, mobile, email address, and all of these details. So we have received some details of a new contact which we want to create in GetResponse in our trigger window. So after adding this webhook URL in our trigger application and capturing the response, we have received these details from our trigger application. And one by one, we are going to map this same response, these same details in our GetResponse step. So let's start with name. We have received the name of the user from form submission. Here it is. And we are going to map this same name in this respective field of name. And guys, the process of mapping is very simple. Simply click on this field, and here in this dropdown, you can see a list of all the responses which we have received from trigger application as a webhook response. And out of all of these responses, select the response of name. So I'll select the first name, add the space, and then I'll select and map the last name over here. So in this way, whatever name we are going to receive as a webhook response from trigger application, with the same name, the contact will be created in GetResponse. Then after this, let's map the email address over here. So let's follow the same process of mapping. From this drop-down, map the email address. We have not received the IP address, and it is not a required field, a mandatory field. So we can ignore IP address, days of cycle over here. Then it is asking us for the tag ID. So here in this dropdown, you will see a list of all the tags which we have created in our GetResponse account. And what is the tag which we want to assign to this new contact which we are creating? We have to select that tag over here. So I'm selecting via webhook as the tag because I'm creating these new contacts via webhook. Then it is asking us for the birth date. We haven't received the birth date, so we can ignore this field. Then we have the field of city. So we have received the response of city from our trigger application. So we can map this response over here in this field of city. Just click here and from the drop down, map the response. We haven't received the comment, so we can leave this field blank, and then here in company, we can map the response of company from trigger responses. Then it is asking us some other details as well over here like mobile number. So let's map the mobile number because we have received that response. And here you can see there are other fields as well like address, work phone number, complete address, and all of this. All of these fields are not mandatory, not required. So if you want, you can ignore these fields for now as well if you are not getting any data of these fields in the trigger response. Like in our trigger response, we are not getting country, gender, phone number, and all of these details. So you can just ignore these fields for now. And then just scroll down and click on Save and Send Test Request. After clicking on Save and Send Test Request, here you can see that we have received some response. And this response seems to be a positive response to us. This response shows that the data which we have mapped over here, basically the details which we have received from our webhook response in our trigger window from our trigger application, using these details, a new contact is created in GetResponse. So let's check it. We will go to a GetResponse account and we'll go to the contact section. And yes, here you can see that demo user, the same person whose details we have added in our trigger application in our Pabbly Form Builders form, the same user with the same details has been added as a new contact over here. Here you can see the same date and time for today. You can see the same company, email address, name, and all the other details. So in this way, you can see that the automation workflow which we have created using Pabbly Connect, this automation workflow is working perfectly fine. And in this automation, by selecting Webhook by Pabbly as a trigger application, you can basically get a Webhook URL and you can add that Webhook URL in any trigger application of your choice from which you want to get the data if that application supports responses via Webhook. And then on that basis, you can get the data from your trigger application and create your contacts in GetResponse. Now here guys, after setting up this automation, let's test this automation workflow once. We will get back to a form which we have created our trigger application and we are going to make another trigger event. We are going to make another form submission. So I'm going to enter the details of a new user. This is the name, email address. This is the dummy mobile number with country code. And the company is, for example, the same, Pabbly. And let me enter the city as Mumbai this time. And click on submit. So just now we have received another form submission, another trigger response via Webhook for our trigger application. And then we will see as we receive this response, instantly within seconds, the same user will be added as a contact in GetResponse. So we'll go to GetResponse, we'll go to the contact list and refresh this contact list once. And yes, here you can see that test user, the same person whose details we have just now added while submitting the form while making the trigger response via Webhook. Here you can see that the same person with the same details has been added as a new contact in our GetResponse account. The same name, same email, same company, and the date and time. This means the automation which we have created for creating new contact in GetResponse while receiving the responses, the trigger response via Webhook, this automation is working perfectly fine. So you can get a Webhook URL in your Pabbly Connect workflow and add that Webhook URL in any application of your choice, which is not even integrated with Pabbly Connect. And then you can get the Webhook response, and on the basis of that response, you can create new contacts in GetResponse. So not just these applications, you can connect plenty of other applications with Pabbly Connect. And guys, one more important thing. You will find the clone link of this exact same workflow in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can actually clone this same workflow into your own Pabbly Connect account and use this automation workflow for free. Also, let me tell you, Pabbly Connect offers you a free plan. And in this plan, you will get some free tasks every month into your own Pabbly Connect account. So if you want to try and test this automation, you can do it for absolutely free.
If you have any kind of doubts or queries, you can post them on forum.pabbly.com. So if this video was helpful to you, you can obviously like this video, comment down to your suggestion, and don't forget to share it with others. So guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you. Have a great day.